ये प्रवीण जी क्या हाल चाल है आपके? प्रवीण, you are muted.
Please unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, and thank you, Praveen, for exchanging this lectures. Otherwise, it will be difficult.
No issues, sir.
Good morning, Shalabh sir. Good morning, sir. On behalf of Amity University Lucknow campus, I welcome all the participants and our esteemed guests, speakers for this session on DP on data science with statistical methods using R programming. So for today, we'll have three sessions. First session is right now from 11:30 to 1:20. And then we have another session from 2 to 4 p.m. and then from 4:30, Shalabh sir will continue. So all the very best to everyone. Happy learning. So over to you.
So, right. So let me first share my slides.
Please share, sir.
Yeah.
I've stopped the sharing.
Can you see it now?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay. So, okay. So, welcome friends, welcome to this workshop. Yeah, I believe that the main objective of this workshop is to make you understand some statistical techniques which are usable in our software. So, but before you go for those statistical technique, let me try to use this opportunity to give you a brief introduction or a quick review of the commands in the R software, which are possibly going to be useful for you. I'm not doubting your capability that you have forgotten R or you don't know R, but my modest objective is that many times we simply forget these things, how we want to do and so on. So my objective here is extremely simple, that I am assuming that all of you have a background in R, but at this moment you are simply out of touch for a very long time. So that is why you want a quick brush up of the things, so that you can easily understand the contents which are given by all other speakers. So in the first three lectures, I am going to take up different topics, and then I will try my best to make this topics clear to you, with an objective that when the experts are talking about new statistical tool, you are not lost and you can understand them. So this is only a quick review of those topics. Right. So let me try to first give you some basic background, just to give a start. So these are very simple things. So you know that the first question comes here: why should I use the R software? So now you know that use of any software is quite desirable, and everybody wants to use it, because whenever you are trying to do the data analysis, once the data comes, you have to do all this analysis, you have to do different types of computation, and for that you need a software which can help you in the computation. Okay, one thing more. Now, once my slide is in the full screen mode, I cannot see any one of you. So if you have any question, please feel free to stop me at that moment itself, and I will have no problem if you stop me 100 times. Right. So you have to just raise your voice rather than raising the hands, because I cannot see anybody. So now, when I come to the aspect of software, so in software the softwares are being used in mathematics as well as statistics. In statistics, some of the popular softwares are like SPSS, SAS, Minitab, Stata, MATLAB, etc. And similar to them, other software is here actually R. Right. So now, what is actually R? R is a free software, and I can share with you that how it started. And possibly I am the means I am the person who has seen the birth and growth of this R software with my own eyes. So it was it was in 90s actually. when this computer came to India, and then statistical software started developing. And then in around 94 or 95, there was a software whose name was S Plus. It was like this, capital S and then plus, PLUS. So this software was quite popular among the statistician and the programmer because it had two types of capabilities, that it can do the programming as well as it can use the built-in functions also. Built-in functions are equivalent to the role what you try to use in any window-based software, where you can go and say click. For example, if you want to find out the mean, you go to the button of mean and you click it there. So similarly, when you want to find out the mean without clicking, then there is a function or there is a program called as say mean. You simply try to type MEAN and then give the numerical values, and it will give you the arithmetic mean. So this this S software, S Plus software has an advantage that you can do the programming as well as you can use the built-in function. What does this mean? For example, if I am trying to find out the value of the square of the mean, so that means I have to find out the mean and then I have to square it. In most of the software which are window based, you will have only one option, that you can compute the mean, but you will not be able to compute the square of the mean. But in the S Plus software, there was an option that you can compute the mean as well as you can compute the square of the mean. So this is how this S Plus became very popular among the user, but it was a very expensive software and people were unable to use it. So that is why a group of people, a group of academicians from all over the world, they came together, and there were two people from, say, New Zealand, Robert Eheka and I think R. Gentleman. So they came together and then they started making a group of people from all over the world, and then they started developing a software which is just like the S Plus software. So what they did, the outcome of their software was that it was practically a copy of the S Plus software, but written in a different way so that there are no copyright issues. And so in a simple language, I can say this R was developed as a free software, which was parallel to the S Plus software. And in the R software, they had used the same commands, same types of windows, same types of structure also, so that anybody who is already working in the S Plus software, that fellow may not have difficulty in switching back to the this R software. So the instructions, commands, everything from the S Plus was copied into R software also. Right, so this is how R came into picture, and then gradually, because it is a free software, so people were doubting on its integrity, that whether it is doing the correct calculations or not, etc. But then gradually, over a period of time, people believed on this software, and nowadays this is one of the most popular software in the world. Right, before I move further, means I think many of you might have heard that Python is another language in which people are trying to do the programming, and there is a very popular controversial question that which is better, R or Python. I said, yeah, don't go into these details as a user. That will be the best combination if I know R and Python both. Right, so R is essentially more useful when you are trying to do the statistical thing. Because most of the statisticians, whenever they are trying to develop any new tool, any new research, they are trying to create a package in the R software that is freely available. So if you want to use their result in your research, you can just download the package and can use it. So there is so for me, this R and Python both are equally respectable. It is just like this. Okay, if you have a white shirt and a sky blue shirt, which is a better shirt, right? So depending on your need, you will just use it. So this R software is available for all sorts of platform: Windows, Unix, Linux, Macintosh, etc. And R has all sorts of capabilities which are usual any software or any programming language has. For example, it can create graphics, it can create other types of things. All the graphics can be directly saved into the PostScript format, PDF format, JPEG format, etc. It has all sorts of logical control like branching, looping, modular programming, etc. And for that, we try to use the concept of functions. Right. So if you want to install the R software on your computer, then you can go to this website, www.r-project.org. And then you can just download the required software, which is for Windows, Macintosh, or say anything else. Right. So, and then if you want to quit from the R software, you simply have to come to the prompt and then you have to write it Q and then this parenthesis. That's as simple as that. Right. So means I believe that once you can install it, you can click on it to start it, and then using the Q function, you can quit the R software. Now, one of the one of the excellent feature in the R software is the libraries. So what are these libraries? It is just like if you try to think about the library in a common sense. Suppose I want to know about nuclear physics. Means I have absolutely no idea that how it is that what is this nuclear physics and how to learn it, etc. So what will you do if you want to learn about the nuclear physics? I would simply go to my library, and then in the library, I will try to find out a book on the nuclear physics. I will try to get this. Yeah, I will have two options. Either I want to study there or I can issue it for a couple of days to bring it to my home. So means surely if you want to develop a topic, you would like to bring the book to your home. So I will I will get it issued and then I will bring it to my home. And then I will keep it there for say 15 days, 1 month till the time of issue. And then I will read it from there, and then once I have understood it, I will go to the library and give it back to the library. Right, because if I don't give it back, then if I start collecting all the books in my home, then after some time it will become a difficult thing for us to handle actually. Right. So now this is the same function in the R software also. We also have here the concept of library. So you know that this is a free software and everybody in the world has been given the authority to write their own programs and they can be uploaded on the website of the R software. And from there, one can download it and can use it. Or let me explain this concept with a very simple example. Suppose I develop a new method for finding the goodness of fit of a model. Right. Now I will write the program and I will send it to the R team. They will try to get it checked whether everything is correct or not, and then they will upload it on the website of R project. Now, suppose you want to use my methodology to check whether the fitted model is good or bad. So what you can do that instead of doing the whole programming, you can simply download that package from the website of the R project. You can install it on your computer and then you simply have to give the input data and then it will give you the decision whether your model is good or bad based on my methodology. So this is happening in the library. So the question for the first question comes here that why it is not available inside the software. So in the software, there are two components, and that is an intelligent division of the software that the common things, common usable items like as mean, median, etc., which most of the people are using, all those facilities have been clubbed together inside the R package, which is called as a base package. Right. And the first software that you download from the R project site, this is your base package of R. And after this, those who want to use a special thing, for that job, they can go to the R website and they can download the required package. Why? In case if they don't do like this, then the size of the package will become too much, and then everybody is not interested in everything. So as a statistician, I may not be interested in the package for this numerical optimization, and as an expert of numerical optimization, you may not be interested in the fitting of the linear regression model. So that is why it is like it is like a shop where all the sweets are there at one shop. Whatever sweet you want, you can go and buy and can use it. So this is the concept of library function in the R software. So there are two things actually. First is that how are you going to install the package? So I will try to, so once you try to install the package, for that the command here is install.packages. Right, means I believe that you know it, and then you have to give it here the name of the packages and it will install it. And after you have installed the package, then you have to use the command here library, and it will upload the library from the computer to the R software. Say, for example, if you want to use the package spatial, then you have to simply use the library here, library spatial. And second thing, don't get confused that only those software or those packages which you have downloaded, for that you have to use the function library. Whatever the basic features which are available inside the base package of R, even if you want to use them, first you have to call it to the R software, and for that you have to use the function library. For example, means if you try to see here, when you are trying to use the base package of R, then there is a package here, say MASS, right, or say MG3B. So these are already built in inside the base software. For example, this capital M, capital A, capital double S, this is a package which is associated with the book, which is Modern Applied Statistics using S+. So there it is M, then A, then S, and here S. So these four letters are taken together to create the word mass. So actually, this was the book which was written by Professors Venables and Ripley to understand the application of S+ software when this S+ was lost. Right. So because this R software was developed after the S+ software, so whatever the data sets, commands, etc., which were available in the S+ software, they were transferred to this R software also through this package mass. So everything was compiled in this package mass, and now whenever you want to use it, this package is already there in the base package of R, but that is not readily available. You have to request that Mr. R, I want to use this package mass, and then you have to write the command here, like as you have used here library spatial. So you have to write down here library mass. Whether the packages have been downloaded externally or they are built in, you have to always use the library command to upload the package, and then only after that you can use them. Right. So this is exactly what I told you, that when you are trying to use the package, then some of them are the part of the base package, and others you have to use it. Right. Okay. So now, once you have installed the package on the R software, and once you start this R software, you will get here a window like this, and here you have to observe. There is a sign here like greater than sign, and this is actually the command line. And here you are going to type your commands over here like this here. Right. So this is what you have to do here. I believe that it means all of you already know this much, so that is why I'm not trying to show it on the R software also. I believe that you can do it. And the second option that is that instead of using this R console, actually this is called as R console. Right. So instead of so you will have two options, that you can use the R console directly to write your programs, or there is an external software. Actually, there are a couple of external software which help us in working in the R software. There are TinR, there is a RStudio, etc. So nowadays this RStudio is quite popular, but remember one thing, I'm not trying to do any advertisement of the RStudio software, but this is one of the most popular software. So that is why I am taking its name here, but you are free to use any of the free software. Yeah, I will emphasize on the free software because possibly I'm not that rich to afford it. So anyway, so if you try to install this RStudio software, actually you can go to Google and simply type the command here RStudio. Then there is a website www.rstudio.com, I think com, and then from there will be different version, one for Windows, one for Unix, one is free, another is paid. So I am requesting only to download the free version on your computer and install it. So once you start the RStudio, it will give you here like this window number say 1, window number here 2, window number here 3, and window number here 4. So there will be 4 windows which are going to be there. So the role of these 4 windows is as follows, right? Right, I can show you here. So this window number 1, this is the place where you try to write all the basic commands. Well, whatever you want to do, so you can use this window as an editor window. Whatever you want to write down here, type here, and then there will be command here, run, source, etc. So you can use this command. Actually, you will have to highlight if you want to just use a couple of lines or the couple of commands out of the long program, then you simply have to highlight it and then say execute it when I say run. Right. So and then the program will be executed where? Now, if you try to look at here, window number 2, window number 2 is simply your here R console. So whatever you get after clicking on the R software, this will be here. So whatever you execute it here, it is actually executed inside the R software. And after this, in the window number 3, you will see there are many options. There's environment, history, right, environment history. So you can just click over there and you can see here that it will give you different types of options over here. Right, I'll try to show you in more detail. And then window number here 4, you can see here files, plots, packages, help, viewer, etc. So if I try to pick here this window number here 1, so you can see here this is the script section. Whatever you want to write here, you can type here all the commands, and if you want to execute the entire thing, then you simply press here run. And then if you want to run only a small part of this program, then you simply have to highlight it and then just execute it on the run. Now, whatever you are executing there, actually, yeah, if you try to see here, there are many things actually. If you try to open it on here, this part, this will give you here R, Markdown, Shiny Web application, R, HTML, etc. Actually, which I can share with you. When you try to use this RStudio, don't get confused. Actually, this R has been developed in many directions. This R has for example, there are a couple of things like a Shiny or say R Markdown. They have become very popular. For example, if you suppose I have a book on the R software. So now definitely you will see here in this talk also I will give you here some commands and their outcome. But in order to show that command, I have taken only here the screenshot. But definitely as a reader, as a student, you would like to execute those commands yourself also. So what is the other option? That I will try to create a R Markdown copy of my book on the internet. So it will be a website where all the commands which are used in the book, they are given over there. You can simply enter your data and can simply say there run. So whatever command I have used in my book for a given set of data, Now you will also be able to use the same command on your set of data. So this is controlled by this R Markdown software. Similarly, there is Shiny. Shiny is another package which is very useful in the data manipulation now. So anyway, so don't get confused with these things here. So they will be there, and if you want to learn it more, then that will be a different part. And then so this is here run, and this is here if you want to just rerun the program, so you can just click over here. So there are many options over there. You can see them, and I said this is the window number here too that you can see here. This is only the R console. So one thing you have to keep in mind that when you are trying to work in the RStudio software, so it is here on the front there will be R Studio software, but in the back there will be R software. Whatever you are trying to learn, whatever you are trying to execute, that is executed inside the R software. But this RStudio is only helping us in making the execution easier. Right, so it is just like my friend who can hold my hand and the hands of R, and then so that me and R can work together. Right. Another, can you just check this window is popping up again and again for this Microsoft Teams. Right. So in my opinion, once you have given that time of 11:30, 11:40, after that you don't allow anybody. Otherwise, actually it is coming again, and it's again on my screen, so I cannot just do it. Right. Anyway, so right. So this is what you have to just keep in mind. And then after this, there is a window number here 3. Window number 3 here is like as this will be here environment. There will be a history here. For this environment, if you try to wish whatever you have done in your R software means earlier, that will all be appear here. The information about different types of variable will appear here, and then history means here. And if you come to history here, so whatever you have done in the past means in your earlier session in this RStudio, that will be stored there. And actually that is the good part in the RStudio. Those things are difficult to those things are not user friendly in the R software. Then you have here the command for import indicators. For example, if you want to import a file from the MS Excel, SPSS, or other external software, then possibly you can just click over here. Although in the third lecture, I'm going to talk about how you can import these files inside the R software. You see, one thing I would like to address before I move further. Whenever I try to teach this course on the R software, I always use the RStudio. Sorry, I always use the R console actually. RStudio is a good friend, but as a student, it is not a very good option as an instructor to extend the help to the student, but the student should be asked to struggle. Struggling does not mean torture. Struggling means they have to use their mind, and then they have to learn the things from the basic fundamental point of view. For example, if you want to do programming, then unless and until you know that how these jobs have been done, you cannot do the programming. For example, if you try to see here in this fourth slide, there is an option here, packages. So if you want to install a package in the R software, then it is going to be then there is going to be a command here. So install .packages, and inside the parentheses you have to give the name of the package. But now think about the situation that today you are using a package and you are doing your programming, right? After say 6 months, you want to redo this thing. So now unless and until you have written somewhere that what packages you had used earlier, it is difficult to recall all of them, at least to me also. So what I try to do, that whenever I try to write down the program, I will write down inside the program as my command that install dot packages and the name of the package, so that it allows me that whenever I am trying to run the program, it will use that package. And the bigger advantage is that if you are trying to write down the program and if you are sending it to your other offices, for example, you are sitting in, suppose, your institute, and suppose your institute has 5 branches all over the country, and you want to send this program to those 5 branches, then you have the first option is this, that you try to create an instruction file that you install this packages and then load it. And the second option is you just write down everything in a single file and simply send the file. As soon as they try to execute it, the installing of package and uploading of package, etc., that can be done automatically without asking anyone. So that is the advantage of this using the basic structure. Right. So for example, you will see here, once you try to open the RStudio package, if you want to install a package, you just go there and you simply have to make a check mark and the package will be installed automatically. And then, that will be loaded and then that will be installed automatically just by writing a word or clicking a box. Right. So in this window number 4, you will see it here. There are several options: files, plot, packages, help, viewer, etc. So you can see here that is essentially related to the output of a program. You can see that what are the files in your working directory. And then you can see the information about the plots that when they are created, they will appear here. What type of packages you have used or you can use or you want to install, then different type of help and the viewer for the graphic, all these options are there. Well, surely I'm not going into that much detail. As I said, I believe that you already know this R and RStudio software, because actually if you try to see that Dr. Anuradha Mishra has conducted earlier a similar FDP that was sort of an introductory FDP, and now this is in the sequel. So all these things we had covered over there also. Right, so you can see here, if you want to install a package or you want to load a package or install a package in this window number 4 under this here packages, there is a here package for install. If you come on the install and just write a couple of letters, that will give you an option that which of the package you want to install. And after that, this is installed and all those installed packages are here like this. And if you want to load, that means they're using the command library, you simply have to come to this box here and then check here. So that is equivalent to using the command library. Right, so this is extremely helpful, but too much help in the beginning, it is not very much required for the students. And similarly, if you come to the help part here, if you want to get the help on the histogram, if you just type in HIST in the drop down menu here, many things will come and then you can choose and it will give you the complete information about the histogram. Actually, this help is your best friend. Miss anybody from the outside, he or she will be able to give you only the partial information. But this help has been created by those people who created the commands for histogram. And my very sincere suggestion to you all is that whenever you are trying to use a new function, new command, always try to read it from the help. It will give you many things which are useful. And then at least you will come to know what is really happening, because we are using in such type of workshop only the basic commands which are used by a beginner. Right. Okay. So now this is all about that. How are you going to begin with the R software, and this RStudio software. Right. Okay. Sorry, I think I said that I'm going to talk about the importing of files in the third lecture, but it is today only. Yeah. In the third lecture, I think that there is something else I will try to show you. Right. Okay. Anyway, so whenever you are okay, now I'm going to just address, once you have started your software, the second job comes here, that how are you going to read the data. Because usually this data is coming from some external sources, somebody else has collected the data, and you are simply going to use your statistical software on this data set. And then you would not like to copy and paste the same data into the R software, but you would like that this data is read directly from the file from that particular software to our software. Now here you can understand what is the basic problem here. The problem here is, for example, if there is a file which is created in Microsoft Excel. So Microsoft Excel created a spreadsheet has some particular type of environment. And when you are trying to bring that file inside the R software, then R has a different type of environment. So now how the R software is going to understand about the file which was created in the MS Excel or any equivalent software, that is the issue here. So now how are we going to work with these things? So actually there are different types of file structure that can be used here. Some are, for example, some TXT file, CSV file, Excel file, and then you have some other softwares like SPSS, Stata, etc. Means some type of mathematical and statistical software in which people are already actually working. And you would like to use them here in the R software. So now how to get it done? That is the objective in this forthcoming slides. Okay, so the first command here is that how are you going to set up your directory? Setting up directory is an important feature in the sense that whatever files you are using and whatever is the outcome of your this analysis, that they are going to be saved in the required directory that you know. Otherwise, there is a built-in directory of the R software, and yeah, so all the files are going to be there. So anyway, so if you want to change the working directory, the command here is set wd, set working directory. W means working, D means directory, and then within the double quotes inside the parentheses you have to give the address or the location of the file from where you want to read. For example, if I try to say on the C:, I have created a directory, suppose R course, right? So then you have to give it here, say this within this double quotes C:/ R course, and so on. Or means there's an alternative command here like this, that you try to give two front slashes and like this. And similarly, actually you have to be careful that this command is going to be changed when you are trying to working in Windows or Unix or Linux. So you simply have to follow the same rule of that operating system, that how are you going to give the address, and the same thing has to be given here also. There should not be any problem in doing so. Right, so, and once you have set the working directory, suppose after some time you start working on your R software, then you would like to know that what is my working directory. So for that, the command here is get wd, get a working directory. So if you use this command, you will see here this outcome, and you can see here this is the screenshot of the same outcome. So yeah, so because that's a very elementary lecture, and I believe that you all know all these things, so that is why I'm trying to convince you with the this screenshot actually, right? So now when you are trying to before I move further, it is important to understand that when you are trying to work in the R or say R Studio, so as soon as you try to change your working directory, that will remain there, but that will remain there only for that session. What does this mean? That if you try to quit from the R software or from the R Studio software, or you try to restart your computer, then you have to use this set wd command once again. Otherwise, the R cannot recall that, or I will say that R software does not have the facility to copy and paste the same working directory that you use earlier, right? Okay, so now the question is that now some file is there in the designated folder and you want to read it. So now there are different types of format which can be read in the R software. One is here a CSV file, TXT file, spreadsheets, for example, they can be created in the Microsoft Excel, OpenOffice, or etc. etc. There can be some HTML cable files also, and then files from the other software also, and like this, right? So, right, and then beside that thing, there is another option here that if some data file is uploaded somewhere on the internet also, then also you can read it. Now I will ask you, you all have the files of this presentation, right? So you can see here at that on my home page, I have stored a directory here, munic-data.asc. Actually, this file is only a data file in which they have some house related data for the city of Munich in Germany. So I have just uploaded it on my website. Now, if you want to read this data directly inside the R software using this R command, that can be done. So this data is in the tabular format, and the command for the tabular format is read.table. Don't worry, we are going to learn about this command in the coming slides and all those things. But here I just want to show you that if you try to use this command, then these commands can not only read the data files from your computer, but also from the internet also. So if you try to use this command here, read.table file equal to whatever is the address, etc., etc., if you try to give, and you just try to copy and paste this entire thing, and then try to paste it on your R console, and then try to see that what really happened to this name data Munich. You will get that data over there in your R software also, right? So why don't you just do it and then let me know whether it is working or not. You see, I am going to share all my presentation files before the talk starts, and then Dr. Anuradha Maheshwara will circulate it. So now you will be having all these slides with me, with you also. So you can copy and paste these commands and can do it along with me. Right, so I will give you half a minute. You simply try to copy this command and then try to paste it inside the R console, and then try to type data Munich, and you see that are you getting the same outcome?
I have shared the content, sir. I have shared the content with all the participants.
Yes. So now it is they're going to open the file. I cannot come and do it. Right. So let me give them half a minute and try to do it. Right. So I hope you can just do it. Okay. Now I am coming to my here first topic. Suppose you have a file which is a comma separated value file, what we call popularly as a dot CSV file. So now how to read it? Actually, reading is extremely simple. Means I will try to take this first example so that you can, and then I will try to explain it in more detail that how the things are happening, and then I will try to show you that how are you going to understand what R is doing. Right. So suppose I try to, okay, you do one thing. You simply try to create a directory, something like R course or whatever you want. But at this moment, I will prefer that you have the same directory as of my directory. and use your MS Excel or OpenOffice, whatever means software you are using, and then try to create a small file like this one, that the first column, second column and third column has 5 values. First column has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, second column has 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and third column has 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. And then save it as example 1.csv. Can you please do it? I will just give you 1 minute of time. Right, so I think you have created this file here. Now and then yeah, means you already have created a working directory here like as a R course. So you can so you just try to use here this command, set WD, and then you can see here the command to read the CSV file is read.csv. Right. And then within the parentheses, within the double quotes, you have to write down the name of the file .csv. Right. For example, if I try to
excuse me.
Yeah.
Sir, 1 minute. The files, the data set has to be taken by the candidate. They can take their own data set, or they have to use your data set.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that is what I said. You first create a CSV file like this one.
Okay. So participants, there is no separate data set. People are requesting me to post the data set. Please create your own data set. Okay.
It's not actually data set. These are only the 5 values in the 3 columns.
Yes, simple CSV file is there. So you please create one Excel file, and then you try to import it over here, because people are writing in the group that madam please post the data set. That is why I thought that I could
data set is means there is these are just 5 values, because my objective is extremely simple, that once just you try to create the data yourself, and when you are trying to read it inside the R software, then you will be able to understand it. Means I can give you this file, but this is a very simple file actually.
Yes. So please
just do it. I will just give you 2 minutes of time. Yeah, that is as good as when you try to have this what you call this offline workshop. Then also I try to do the same thing. Anuradha, can you see my presentation? Somehow it has disappeared.
Pardon, sir?
Is my presentation visible?
Yes, it is visible. Okay, importing data files page is visible.
Sure. You just do it. I will give you 2 minutes of time.
And those who have already joined the meeting, please don't leave and rejoin, because it is very difficult every time accepting everyone. Sir is also getting disturbed. People are leaving the meeting and then rejoining.
Every time another somebody joins, my screen gets actually blocked.
Yes.
And that disturbs my whole concentration actually.
Yes, sir.
And
so
then
actually we also have to continuously sit and admit people and then make them attendee.
No, you are actually good. So that's why you are doing it in my class. And I say that the class is going to begin at this time. After that, if you cannot come, why should you come to?
Yes, sir. But here all are faculties.
No. I know, no. With the faculties also. Yeah, means if the faculties are not doing it, possibly I will not would like to ask my own daughter and son to study to with them to teach.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Because these students are copying us silently. If we cannot follow the rules, if we cannot come in time, then how the students you can expect?
Yes, sir. Yes.
That is what I always say, Anuradha. Everybody wants that their children should be studying only in IITs. They don't want that their own children possibly be studying in their own college if they have this
Institution.
option.
Right, sir. This is very true.
And I take a very simple example. If I had committed, it was not possible for me, but I traveled the whole night just so that means I can come to this workshop in time. Right? Have you done it? Will I begin? Right. Shall I start?
Yes, sir.
Right. So you can see here now, once you have created this file, let us call the name as say example1.csv. So, right. So if you try to see, if you try to give here the command read.csv, and inside the parenthesis within the double quotes, if you try to give here this example1.csv, the complete file name, then what do you get here? And then whatever you get here, you can store it in a new file, a new data objectives. Say, let us call it say here data, DATA. Now I will ask you one thing. I think possibly this is how you have inserted the data in the Excel file. Now, if you try to type DATA on your R console, you will be getting here like this thing outcome. Can you please observe the difference between these two outcomes? What do you observe here? This Excel 5 has 5 rows, and if you try to see here in your outcome, there are only here 4 rows. So where is this 5th row has gone? Your data is beginning from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but here the data is coming from 2, 3, 4, 5. Where is here 1? 1 is here actually lost. So if you try to see here what is really happening, and this is the issue that you need to understand. What is happening here actually, whenever you are trying to create a CSV file, you know that there is a concept of header. Means header means the first row is going to be used to give the names of the column. So now whenever you are trying to read this CSV file in the R software, you always need to tell whether your file has got a header or not. So in this case, if you try to see here, if you Anuradha, this is disturbing actually. Right. So if you try to see here in this file, actually in this command, actually you have not given any instruction to the R software that whether there is going to be any header or not. So what it has done, whatever is here, the first row, the R software has taken here. You can see here, this is the value here 1, this is here 10, and this is here 100. Right. So what is really happening here? It has taken the first row as the header and automatically it has given the name as here say X. So now these names becomes here X1, X10, X100. Now this is a problem. So this means you also need to inform the R software that whether there is a header or not. So you can now compare it very easily here. This is your Excel file and this is your here output when you try to read it in the R software, right? So now what you have to do here, then actually if you try to look into the help menu of read.csv, then there will be many commands, and my always request is to all the participants is that that you please try to look into the help and then try to understand what are the different options. So when you try to read those options, there will be option here header, HEADER, all in lowercase. These are this is the reserved word, and this is a logical variable. That means it will give the value here, say here as a true or false only, and true and false they are going to be written only in the uppercase alphabets, right? So what will happen here now, if you try to use this command read.csv, give the data file name and then use the option here header. If there is no header in the file, then you try to write header is equal to false. But if there is a header in the file, then you try to write header is equal to true. Now if you try to see here in this file what you have given, you have not given any header, so I will use here an option now here header is equal to false. That means there is no header. And now if you try to read it here, this data file what you gave earlier, like here this one from 1 to 5, 10 to 50, 100 to 2 to 500. Actually, you see, I have taken this file intelligently that first first column only 1 digit, second column 2 digit, third column 3 digits, and they are just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on. So it is not difficult to remember. So you can see here now all the data is coming here without any problem. And you can see here this R software also has done one thing. It has given it a name. So the names of the 3 columns is given by automatically as V1, V2, V3 and the V's are in the capital letters, and these are the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which are indicating the row number. So if you want to call any particular value, then you have to use the address by row number and column number. Okay, so now you can compare it here. This was your original file, and this is here the file which you have read inside the R software, right? So there should not be any problem in this one. Okay. So now, other things comes. Now, if you try to see here, R has given the names of the columns automatically, V1, V2, V3. Now, surely you would like to give your own name. For example, if your first column is height, second column is weight, and so on. So instead of using V1, V2, V3, you will try to take the names and height, weight, etc., so that you can understand it easily when you are trying to recall this variable. So if you want to change the names of these columns, so the command there here is names, NAMES, and inside the you have to write down this name data vector, sorry, data object. So whatever is the name of your here data in which you have stored the outcome, that has to be given here. Right. So if you try to see here inside the double quotes, you are trying to write down here the names of the column that you want to assign. That can be height, weight, or age, or that can be, I have given it column 1, column 2, column 3. So if you try to give here names, data, and then yeah, you know that C is the concatenate means you are trying to join these names in the same order. So this will create a data vector actually, right? So now if you try to look into your column here data, this will be like here like this, where you can see here this now means earlier your names were V1, V2, V3, but now the names are here, column 1, column 2, column 3, but your data here is the same, right? Okay, so right, so you can see here, these are the screenshot. The screenshot means yes, I don't have time here, or we don't have time here to do all the operations because you are sitting in some remote locations, and yeah, so that is why I have used here the screenshot, so that and all these files are going to be with you. You can try these commands and you can compare it with the this outcome. And if you want to go along with me, I have no issue. I can give you 1 minute time and you can just do it. You simply have to copy and paste the commands inside your R software. So that won't take a very long time. If you want to do it, you can just do it. I can give you half a minute time. You're right. Okay. So now you see after this, whenever you are now you can actually recall that whenever you are trying to read a file in the MS Excel as a CSV file and you want to import some data. So you have a couple of options. Sometimes the values are separated by blank space, sometimes they are separated by a tab, or sometimes by some other symbol like colon or semicolon, etc. also. So in this R software also you have an option that you can specify that what is the separator of the values. For example, suppose if you try to create a data file in the notepad and you try to import it in the MS Excel software. So once you try to say this, open it will ask you whether you want to import it. You say yes, and then there will be several options, next. And in one of the options you will see that it asks you what is your separator, whether this is a blank, whether this is a comma, whether this is a tab, or so there you have to make a check mark that this is my separator, and then the values are separated according to that command. So this is the same rule which is played here by the option here SEP, SEP, which means separator. Right. So you try to write down here read.csv, name of the data file, and then just use here SEP, and then within double quotes you have to give the separator. For example, if there is a tab delimiter, then you have to give the option here \T, and if there is a blank sign, then you simply have to give here the blank sign, so the R will know that how it is going to divide the data. Right. Okay. So this is how, and then yeah, it means I'm not saying that it has to be used alone. You can also use it along with your earlier command that header is equal to true or false. Right. Okay. Now I come to another aspect. So this was about the CSV file. Now I will try to do here with the tabular data files. You know what is that tabular data file? If you try to recall. Yes.
Sir, there is one question from Professor Mukesh Kumar Ojha.
Sure.
He's asking if I'm working on cloud, let's say Azure or AWS or Oracle, then how do I read the file from CSV?
Yes. Okay. The first thing is this. If you try to see in my lectures, the first or second slide, I have given you an example where I have uploaded a file on my internet site that is actually just like a cloud, Right, and then you can read the file directly from there when you are trying to give the address at say C:\/ R course. Instead of that, you try to give the appropriate address within the double quotes, and it can be done. And if I try to extend your question, if you are trying to say that if you have a file in the Oracle and you want to, and that is stored on the cloud, then how are you going to read it on the in the R software? So towards the and actually, or I can just share with you, whenever you are trying to read specific types of files, then you have specific types of packages which are actually used. For example, if you are trying to use or if you want to import a data file that was created in the SPSS, then there is a package foreign. FOREIGN. So first you need to install that package foreign, and then you can import the SPSS data file. Similarly, there is a package, I can't recall that package, but you can Google it. That package is to be installed if you want to read a data file from the Oracle. And once you install that file on your computer, and after that you simply try to use the same command read.csv and try to give the address of your cloud, then it will read your CSV file from that cloud also.
Okay, Mukesh sir, I think that was clear about your query. Sir, you may continue, please.
Sure. Right. So you know that what is the difference between what is this tabular data file? Tabular data files, you can simply assume that as we have this attendance register in our class. So on the columns, this is day 1, day 2, day 3, and so on. And in the rows, there are the names of different students. So every student has a row in which the entire data is given over there. Right. So this is the meaning of this tabular data file. Right. For example, the way we try to create an attendance sheet in the MS Excel software, that will be your here tabular data file. Right. So if you want to read the tabular data file, yeah, that can also be separated by here space, tab, colon, comma, or say anything else. Then you have a command here, read.table. Now, once I have told you about read.csv and different options, that how are you going to rename the names of the columns, how are you going to use the header, how are you going to use the separator, etc. Same commands are going to be used in most of the instructions which I am telling you here. For example, in this instruction read.table, if you try to, if there is a header, you try to use header is equal to true. If there is no header, you try to use header is equal to false. So the basic command to read a tabular data file will simply be here read.table, and then within the double quote inside the parentheses you have to write down the file name. For example, I try to take here the same data set that you have taken, or you can also do that in your in your notepad. You just try to create or enter these values. Means in the first row 1, then blank space, then 10, then blank space 100, second row 220, 200, and up to 5 row 550, 500. Please try to do it. Got it. And can now if you just try to save this file as example3.txt in the same folder, so it will be here. It will look like actually here this. Now if you try to use the command here read.table, and within double quotes you try to give here example3.txt. Yeah, example2, who can ask me where is example2 after? So actually I have deleted that part because I thought later on that one example is sufficient. Right, anyway, so if you try to see here, I have used here the command here, sep is equal to, within double quotes, I am writing here the blank sign. So now if you try to read this data using the command read.table and try to store it, say in the name here, data, say as a data object name is data, who can take anything else also, then its output will be here like this. So once again, you can see here, this is here the same data that you had inserted, and v1, v2, v3, this has been given the name, the names of the column. Right. So now, so this is the way you can read the tabular data file also. Now, there is, suppose you want to read the file from the MS Excel software. So now, as you can see here that in the case of CSV and TXT, you have, means actually these are the built-in things actually, and you can use them directly once after installing the base package of the R software. But if you want to read the package, if you want to read the files from the Microsoft Excel software, then you have to install a particular package. And this package here is read_Excel. Right. Just for your information, actually, those who are from, means those who are not as old as I am, you may recall that that earlier in the MS Excel there should be two format, .xls and another was .xlsx. Right. So this XLS was the version in was created in the earlier version of the MS Excel, and .xlsx was created in the later version, sometime around 2008 or 2000, I think 12. I can't recall. Right. So, so earlier, I think 2 years back in the R software, there were two different packages to read the Excel and XLS and .xlsx files. But now, recently, I think 2 years back, now they have come up with a single package which can read both the files. So for that, your command here is, your package here is read_Excel. And so first you need to install this package. This is what you have to keep in mind. That is the difference between Excel and this txt/CSV file. So first you need to use the command here, install.packages, try to read down here, read Excel. And then after that, you have to upload it here, library read Excel, and then after that you have to use the function here, read_Excel to read it. Now how it can be done? This I will try to show you. So if you have an extension with .xlsx, there is no issue. You simply write down exactly the name of the data file and then .xlsx or say .xls. Right. Now, if you try to see that in the whenever you are trying to work in the Excel file, then in the same Excel file, you can create more than one sheets also. And for the sheets, you have two options. You can give a name, particular name, whatever you want, or if you don't give the name, then MS Excel is going to give the name automatically, like a sheet number 1, sheet number 2, and so on. So now, in when you are trying to work in the this R software, then you have to think what you really want to do. You want to call a particular sheet or not? Because if you don't do it, then automatically the first sheet will only be read. So if you want to read a particular sheet of your file inside the R software, then you have to use here the option sheet_number or sheet_name. The difference between is this sheet_number is going to be a numeric, and sheet name, that is going to be some character, like as say this weight, height, or area 1, or say region 1, region 2, region 3, and so on. So if you want to give the name, then you have to give it within the double quotes. Otherwise, you can simply give the number. And when you are trying to do it, then what will happen? I will try to show you. So now I will try to take here the same data set that you have created. So what you can do, whatever file you have created just now as a CSV file, just try to open it and insert the first row whose names are variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, and then save it as a .xlss or .xls. So you try to just do it. I will just means give you means 1 minute for this thing. Right. So now if you try to see, one thing I can also share with you, because I'm trying to compress it, that once you read this data objects from different files, either a TXT, CSV, or say XLS, you are many times interested in calling a particular variable. So that you can do by this thing, actually by this command here, say object name, and then you have to put here this sign, $sign, and after that you have to write down the name of the variable. So for example, if you try to see here in this case what you did earlier, so if you want to call here this data in the third column, so I have to write down here data data dollar, say here v3. Yes, you have to be very careful. This is a case sensitive software. So the way it is given here as v3, the same thing has to be here also. That is what you have to keep in mind. Yeah, many times these are very common mistakes which spoils our time a lot. So now I have created this thing. So if you try to, so you can just store this file in your directory as a SPXL. Right. So if you try to see here, I have created this file spxl.xlsx, which is here, and I'm trying to use here the command read_excel. And now I'm doing trying to give it the command sheet is equal to 1. Right. So sheet equal to 1, as soon as you try to see here, it will give me here this type of outcome. Right. So all this variables name will be here, and all these values which are here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 to 50, 100 to 500, they are going to be there, and all these values I'm trying to store in the data SPEXCL name object. Right. So suppose now I want to extract the data in the first column, second column, and third column, so which are indicated by here the name variable 1, variable 2, variable 3. So I try to use here the command here data SPEXCEL, which is here like this, and then I try to give here the name variable 1. Now if you try to see the reason why I have taken, if you try to see here, I am writing this here, this single quotes. So because this single quote is coming because when R is trying to read this variable name, it is reading it here like this. Right. This is the same story. We know that means our parents have given us a very nice name, but whenever we go to our school, colleges, our friends also give us some name, and these names are like this, which will make us more popular and famous among the students even after 30 years. If somebody calls me and he asks, okay, whether you know about that fellow, I said, who was that fellow? But as soon as he takes the nickname, which I can understand it very clearly. So these are the names which are the nicknames which the R software has given it to all the columns. So these names, if you try to see, I have given it here only variable 1 without any quotes, but R has given it, R has put here this quotes over here. So now the moral of the story is this: you have to use the nickname what R has given. So you have to use here like this quotes. My simple trick is going to be here like this, that I would simply copy and paste from the outcome of the R software these names, and I will paste it after that $sign. So you can see here this is only variable 1, but here is here with quotes. Here it is variable 2, but it is only here quote. And then you can see here all this data 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 50 that is coming over here. And now the advantage is that if you suppose if you want to find out the mean or something of the values in the first column of your file, you simply have to use here the command here as a mean, and then you have to give here the data from here like this. And you can see here that this is the mean of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is the advantage actually here. And similarly, if you try to add here one more sheet here, sheet number 2, right, that you can do in your own file here, that is also going to actually work. So what I try to do here in the sheet number 2, I have added here these values 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the first column, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150 in the second column, and 110, 210, 310, 410, 510 in the third column. Right. So, and these are added here as a sheet 2 here. Right. So I just want to show you that if you want to use this sheet, then how are you going to work on it? So I try to take it here, the same command read_excel, and my file name is going to be the same SPXL. But now I'm going to use here the command here sheet is equal to 2. And as soon as I try to use it here, sheet equal to 2, means you can see here these variables are renamed in the quotes, and then this data comes over here. Right. So this is how you can read actually any particular means a sheet, or yeah, you can also give here the sheet name also if you want, if you have given it, because you can recall that if you come on this name here like the sheet 1 and then try to use here the right click of your mouse, it will ask you whether you want to rename the sheet, and then whatever name you give, that can also be used here to call this data set. And the same thing will happen here. Yeah, you can see here, this is the screenshot of the sheet 2. So I have taken here variable 4, 5, and here 6. And right, then this is here data. So you can see here when I want to extract the first column, I simply have to give the name here data SPXL2, which I have given here. Right, data SPXL2, and then I have to give here $, and then whatever is the name which is coming here, say within quotes, that I have to copy and paste here, say variable 4, and you can see here whatever is the data 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, this is coming here. Right, and the same thing is happening here also with the variable 5 and here variable 6. You can compare it with here like this. Okay, so now and then, yeah, once you have obtained this data, actually you can also store this data in some name. You can assign the names over here, or say here, and then if you want to find out support the arithmetic mean of the data values in a particular column, is not difficult. You simply can use here the command here mean and then the data columns over here. So the moral of the story which I want to tell you here is that that whenever you are trying to import data, or whenever you are trying to work in the MS Excel software, you know that if you want to find out the mean of a row or a column, you simply try to type there equal to mean, and then within the parentheses you will try to give the data range. The same thing can be happen here, that you can read a particular row or a particular column directly inside the R software. In the Excel software, the names of the columns are also automatically given as say A, B, C, D, and after that this is A, B, A, C, and so on. So the same operation is being done in the R software also. Right. Now, suppose whenever you are trying to deal with the data, suppose if you want to see, okay, what are the say first couple of rows. So you can, so if you want to read only some limited number of first rows, then if you then that you can you can do by using the command here n_max is equal to 3. So if you try to use this command here, and then if you try to see, it will show you only the 3 rows. For example, if your data has suppose 1,000 rows, so and you just want to see how's the data, so you can say here and underscore max equal to 3, and it will show you only the 3 files. Because if you don't do it, then what will happen, that this data will scroll and you will see only the last part of the data on your screen. You will not be able to see the first part of the data on your screen. So that is how we try to use this thing, and we try to use the command over here. Now, as I had explained you that you can read the particular row or a particular column also. Also, you can read some particular section of the data file, some particular rows and some particular columns also. For that, we try to use here the option here, range, R-A-N-G-E. And it is just like as you try to give the address of the cells in the MS Excel, like as if you want to see the first column, first row, that is indicated by A1. If you try to say this column Z 20th value, this is going to be indicated by Z20. So the same thing can be used in the R software also. Suppose if you want to read the data values from say C1 to E7, so you simply have to use here C1 colon E7. And similarly, the option of here row column notations, that is also used in the R software also. For example, I can say here row 1 column 2 to row 2 column 5. Yeah, here you have to give it logically that it is correct. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, if you try to give the wrong this notation, it will create a problem. So the moral of the story, what I wanted to tell you is that in the R software, you can read a particular row, particular column, or a particular data set also, and the same thing are applicable in other files also. Right. So, for example, if you try to take here the same file that you have used here, like this, in which you have the data, say here like this one, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and up to 100 to 500. If you try to use this command over here, say read Excel data, whatever is this means SPXL, and then and underscore max equal to 3, then you can see here it is indicating you only the first 3 rows of this data set, right? Okay. And yeah, this is what you can see the screenshot. So you can believe on me that if you try to do it yourself, this is going to happen, right? Okay. Now, in case if you want to read any particular data set, for example, I'm trying to read the data set, say here from A2 to B3. So I can use here the command here, range is equal to A2 and B3. And now because my data file has 2 sheets, sheet number 1 and sheet number 2. So I also need to give it here sheet number 1 or say sheet number 2. And you can see here the values from A2 to B3 are 2 and 20, and similarly in the sheet number 2, the A2 to B3 are the values 7 and 120. So all these values have been extracted over there, but you have to be careful that how the columns are going to be now renamed, right? So this is an automated process which is happening within the R software. So you have 2 options: either you accept it as such, or the second option is that you try to rename this output, and can you try to use it in your own way, right? So this is the story which I want to tell you here. Now, Miss, other thing that I just explain to one of the participants query that here I am yes.
Sir, can we move to the page that you have shown? There is a DB1 and DB1. What is that, sir? DB1 and DB1.
Yes, DB1, actually, you see what is really happening, that this file is created in a very different environment, right? This file is created in the read Excel, sorry, this MS Excel software. So MS software has a particular type of coding under which this file has been created. Now, when this file is being transported to our software, this entire structure, this entire internal structure is going to be different actually, right? So when it is trying to read it, it is trying to give it in a particular format. That is why, for example, this table is like something like an array. It is trying to give you table is equal to here 1 cross 2. That means you can see here there is one. It is just like a matrix, say 1 cross 2 matrix. That means this is a row vector. So you can see here this is here a row vector, that the first column is here 2 and say another column is here 20. Similarly here in the second line it will. In the second line, it will give you here this names here 1 and 2, and similarly it is trying to give it here this DB1. It is DB1 is indicating actually these are some internal characters which are used for the conversions of the data from the MS Excel environment to the R software. So this DB1 etc. They are going to be used by those who are trying to write down this program, that is for their consumption. As a user, it is not really going to affect us. So these are some internal coding structure, the way it is trying to indicate it. So this answer can possibly be given by that fellow who has coded that how to read this data. So that is their language, but for us these values are more important. So that is some this machine structure. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, sir.
Yeah,
Sir,
sure.
I have one doubt.
Yes.
Sir, all this variable, what you have shown in CSV or Excel, sir, all are the, I think, ordinary variables. So we can use nominal variable also in the.
You see, as a software does not understand the difference between the ordinal variable or the nominal variable. It takes only the face value.
Yes, sir.
Right. So whatever face value you have given inside the TXT, CSV or this MX Excel file, this R will bring it here as such. Your question is that when you are trying to find out or when you are trying to apply some statistical tool on this data, then the question comes here whether this data is an ordinal data or a nominal data. So for that, my simple reply is this: R cannot understand that whether this data is nominal or say ordinal. This is only actually you who has to decide, and then you have to use the appropriate statistical tool. For example, if I say, suppose you want to create a pie chart or a bar diagram. So we know that when you try to create the bar diagram, then it is on the categories. Suppose there are two categories, say male or female. So you will try to indicate them by 1, 2. So you have the data has here 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. So now if you simply try to create a bar plot here, it will try to just compute the magnitude 1 and here 2 like this one. 1 is half and then 2 is a double. But if you try to come to the statistical fundamental, statistics says if you try to create a bar plot, then first you have to create the frequency table. You have to count the number of times 1 and 2 are occurring, and then the height of the bar is going to be made on the basis of the frequency of the ones and frequency of the twos. So now you can experiment this thing. Simply try to give take the say 5 or 6 data values, say 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and simply use the command here bar plot on this 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You will see there are 6 plots. But if you try to use the correct command bar plot, and within the parenthesis, if you use table this 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, then it will give you only here two bars. So this is your job, or this is our job as a statistician to inform the R whether the data is nominal or ordinal, and based on that we have to take we have to choose the correct command. R cannot identify it.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for that.
Right, any more question? Right, okay. So right, so
sir,
now yes.
Sir, can we change the Excel values through R programming?
Means Excel values means the inside data. Yes. You can do it. Actually, you see. Yeah, actually, I don't have time here to give you the complete R lecture, but yes, but it is possible here. that if you have a, for example, here, if I try to give you here this example. Right. Suppose now you have created here this data vector, data SPEXEL, right? And suppose you want to change here this third value to suppose here, say 8. I think, Anuradha, you have to stop admitting people, otherwise my screen gets changed very quickly.
Sir,
Right.
now people are not, means I have changed the settings. No, they are already entering without any notification.
Actually, what is happening that on my screen that your screen overwrites, and when I try to write something, it doesn't actually come. Yeah, you see
Okay,
now
but I have changed the settings.
yeah.
So let's see.
Anyway, you can just take care in the next one. Yeah, you see this is happening again. It doesn't allow me to write. Okay, anyway, so if you try to see here, I will simply write down here this data SPEXCEL, and then this is my here row number 3. So I will try to write down here 3 comma, and then this is here the column here is variable 1. I will try to write down here the same name variable 1 here like this, and I will try to give it here 8. Now, if you try to look into your data SPEXEL, now this 3 is going to be 8. So this is how you can manipulate the data inside the R software also. Because you see, once you have brought this Excel file inside the R software, now there is no connection between the two. Now this data SPEXEL is your data value on which you have to work. And then you can do each and everything, whatever mathematical manipulations you want to do, whatever data manipulation you want to do, whether you want to interchange row, column, whether you want to take a subset, whether you want to hide, whatever you can do in the MS Excel, the same thing can be done in the R software also. But there is one advantage that here the things can be done much easily if you understand the basic commands. Right. In R, it will take a very long time. I can share my very simply my most recent this experience. So we had conducted a survey where we had some categorical values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, less, good, better, best, and so on. And yeah, I wanted to create this bar chart and pie diagram. So now, first I had to replace all the those categories by some numerical values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And after this, for the first time, when I tried to create this bar chart and pie chart in the MS Excel, first I had to means before using the command, I have to convert them into the tabular value. Then I realized that how many people are doing it, I don't know, but there was a command count. So first you have to count the categories, and then you have to plot these things. Whereas if you come to this R software, it is just a one-line command over there. You don't have to do anything. And then I had to create this pie chart for about 20 times. So it was practically very difficult for me to do this process. So I just converted that data into R, and within 5 to 10 minutes, I could produce this 20 pie charts of my own choice. So that is the thing actually. Right. So I will just come to the last. Yes. Yes, please. Okay, so I just come to my last slide. You see this, for example, as I shown you that the TXT and CSV file packages, they are built in, but for this MS Excel file, you have to install a new package. So similarly, if you want to read the data from some other sources, then there is a package here, foreign. So foreign may take care of some of the values, but definitely if you want to read from, for example, someone asked me about this. Which one do you ask? Oracle, right? For this Oracle, there is a different package that you need to install. So this foreign packages, you can read the data file that was created in the SPSS software. And similarly, if you want to read the data from the HTML file, then you have to use a package XML, and then you have to use the command here, read HTML table So and so on actually, right? So similarly, I will say that depending on your needs, you can use the different types of these packages which are going to help you in reading the data file actually, right? So that is the main thing actually. Wait, let me try to stop sharing. Right. So that is really going to happen when you are trying to read the data from different resources actually. So now I will stop here, and then yeah, means if you have any doubts, question, you can ask me. Although I said, as I said in the beginning, means I assume that you all knew all the things, and I am here only for a quick review. But surely, if you want to learn it more, then either you can go with the recordings of the earlier workshop of this one, or you can go to this NPTEL site, and there I had given earlier a 20 hours lecture on introduction to R software, in which I'm trying to deal with this basic fundamentals using the R software that you can use. And yeah, otherwise I believe that you know it. So in the next class also I will try to take some basic elementary things so that you are well prepared to understand the basic concepts in the statistics that you are going to learn in the forthcoming days. So now I will stop here and I will ask you if you have any question. I am here.
Sir, I would like to add
is there any book we can follow?
You see, there are many books actually, but the main thing is this: these books are written from the programming language. Actually, what you can do, you can just go to the SWAMP portal. So because there I am offering these courses on introduction to R software actually. There I have given some basic elementary books. So from there you can just have a look. I don't remember the exact title and the exact spelling of the authors. So there are a couple of books actually, and then I was happy that recently this Wiley also has come up with some books which are available in the low price edition. So if you go to the website of Wiley India, right, Wiley India, they have given some books. Okay, I can do one thing. I will just try to find out the exact names of the book and I will share it with Anuradha, and then she can share with you all. So that was the advantage of that book was that they are available in the low price edition, so they are quite affordable. Within 300-400 rupees you will get the books, and yeah, people have tried their best. Good.
Sir, in industry, we are using for JSP, SPSS for this cluster analysis, right? And
Yes.
regression calculation.
Yes.
So this R is used for same process, or it has some added any other advantages, sir?
You see, actually, you see, in order to use the SPSS, the first thing is this: you have to be rich. Right. If you ask me, I am teaching the students at IIT Kanpur, and as a student or even as a faculty, I don't have money to buy it. So that is the first thing. Second thing is this: whatever you can do in SPSS for clustering and for this regression analysis, I'm sure that the same thing or even more things can be done in the R software. For example, I am using this R for the regression analysis. This I will try to give in the fourth lecture. And then you can compare that there is nothing which cannot be done here. Although this is only a 2 hours lecture, but in regression analysis, we have a 1 semester course, and whatever we teach in the 1 semester course, all these things can be done in the R software. Whatever you can do in the R software, in the SPSS for clustering and other things, they can be very well done in the R software also. For example, in clustering, all this algorithmic methods, hierarchical clustering techniques, dendrogram, etc. Whatever you can do, they all can be created. So in one line, I can say whatever you can do in the SPSS, everything is possible in R. The only difference is that
normally it is the free software. But this JSPSS normally it is a free software. But if you go for JSP and Minitab, all these are high paid software only.
yeah, I know. Minitab means I was actually forced to buy about 4 years back, and one single user academic license, because they agreed that when I try to use it on my this MOOC courses, then it is going to be popular. I had to pay around 55,000 or 60,000 rupees, and after 3 years they stopped giving any. Actually, that software automatically stopped after I formatted my computer. I couldn't reinstall it. They said, no, sir, now we have stopped giving the support for this. So this has been withdrawn. So all those 60,000 rupees I could use only for 3 years. After that, I was unable to use it. So I'm not against this SPSS or say Minitab, but when I remember as a student and this main population to whom I teach every day, they cannot afford it, sure. And then in industry, I can share with you, I have not taken here the first lecture today, but there are many companies, many national companies, multinational companies, they have switched to R. My own students, they are using R in these analytics multinational companies.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Right, so one more question, then we will speak to today at what time? I think at what time are we in meeting to today? Another?
Yes, sir.
At what time is my second lecture today?
Sir, if you are free at 4 o'clock, then we'll start at 4. If you are free at 4:30, then we'll start at 4:30.
Actually, I have a meeting starting at 2:30. So I believe by 4 o'clock that will be over, but there's a little bit doubt. So 4:30 will be a good time, at least 100% guaranteed.
Okay, sir. Okay. So we'll have the next session for all participants at 2 o'clock, but Shalabh sir's lecture will be from 4:30. From 2 o'clock, we will have the session of from Dr. Praveen Kumar Mishra. And then from 4:30, we will have the session from Professor Shalabh sir.
Yeah, actually, I have to just explain them. Actually, yeah, I have last week I was forced to take over as the Dean of Academic Affairs, and the semester has begun. And so now there are many things which I have to complete on a day-to-day basis. So that is also my one responsibility, along with my promise that I made to Anuradha. So I hope you will help me in fulfilling the promises for my students, for my institute, as well to Anuradha, both, all.
So the link would be same, ma'am, at 2 p.m., right?
Yes, the link for all the sessions will be same. Only single link we have for all the sessions for all the 5 days. Okay. All are requested not to start the session before time starts. I will myself start the session by 1:55. Okay.
Right.
Please don't click the link, otherwise meeting will start. I will start the session at 1:55. Okay.
And then
much.
I can actually share with you that what really happens. Means I have a screen on which I am trying to explain or trying to write. So as soon as somebody joins, my screen goes in the back, and the login screen comes in the front. So I cannot see anyone. I cannot write anyone. I have to do the whole process again. So you can imagine that inside your class, if in 2 hours time, 50 students are entering after 2 minutes and they are asking, sir, may I come in? May I come in? How can you concentrate? So that is, as a faculty, hope you all will understand this thing. And I personally feel that if as a faculty we cannot do it, then how can we expect from our students? For us at IT, 10:55 is 10:55 and 10:30 is 10:30. These are two entirely different numbers. Right. So thank you very much. I will see you at 4:30.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. We'll meet at 1:55 again. Thank you, sir.